Greetings to you. How are you doing? Shalom. It's not very often I read whole passages from the Bible, but this is very important. Saul of Tarsus, who persecuted the Christians and then was blinded when the Messiah appeared to him and said, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? This was the resurrected Messiah in glory. He said, who are you, Lord? I am Yahushua HaMashiach. He spoke in the Hebrew language, as recorded in Acts 7, I think it is. A voice appeared to me in the Hebrew language saying this. And he was blinded, was led to a man, a follower of Messiah called Ananias. When Saul became a follower of the Messiah and a great apostle to the nations. Many people, so-called Christians, write off Paul, but his letters are so full of inspiration. There's no denying that Paul, the English word for him, was definitely used by Messiah. A brave man, a former Pharisee, a lawyer, raised at the feet of Gamaliel, left all that behind, became a tent maker, lowered himself and worked with his hands at night to support his ministry. Now we look at Romans chapter 1, a beautiful chapter. I will not comment on this. I'll leave this for you to contemplate. Go to Romans chapter 1 and read from verse 18. Romans 1:18 onwards, from the easy to read New Living Translation. God shows his anger from heaven against all sinful, wicked people who push the truth away from themselves. For the truth about God is known to them instinctively. God has put this knowledge in their hearts. From the time the world was created, people have seen the earth and sky, all that God has made. They can clearly see his invisible qualities, his eternal power and Godship. So they have no excuse whatsoever for not acknowledging God. Yes, they knew God, but they wouldn't worship him as God or even give him thanks. And they began to think up foolish ideas of what God was like. The result was that their minds became dark and confused. Claiming to be wise, they became utter fools instead. And instead of worshipping the glorious, ever-living God, they worshipped idols, made to look like mere people, or birds, and animals, and snakes. So, God let them go ahead and do whatever shameful things their hearts desired. As a result, they did vile and degrading things with each other's bodies. Instead of believing what they knew was the truth about God, they deliberately chose to believe lies. So they worshipped the things God made, but not the Creator himself, who is to be praised forever. Amen. That is why God abandoned them to their shameful desires. Even the women turned against the natural way to have sex, and instead indulged in sex with each other. And the men, instead of having normal sexual relationships with women, burned with lust for each other. Men did shameful things with other men, and, as a result, suffered within themselves the penalty they so richly deserved. When they refused to acknowledge God, he abandoned them to their evil minds and let them do things that should never be done. Their lives became full of every kind of wickedness: sin, greed, hate, envy, murder, fighting, deception, malicious behavior and gossip. They're backstabbers, haters of God, insolent, proud and boastful. And they're forever inventing new ways of sinning and are disobedient to their parents. They refuse to understand, break their promises, heartless, unforgiving. And they're fully aware of God's death penalty for those who do these things. Yet they go right ahead and do them anyway. And worse yet, they encourage others to do the same things too. Chew those verses very carefully. Shalom.